voices, the 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 voices. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Let's Discuss It. Today's discussion will be music writing. I am your host, Adrian Lugo. Joining me is my co-host, Mr. Michael Tucci, and Mr. Josh Larson from the band Quis Deo. I am pronouncing that correctly, right?
Yeah, close enough. Quis Deo.
Quis Deo. Okay. I always had a problem with pronouncing it.
Yeah, if I could go back in time, I'd probably change the name, but purely based upon the number of people who mispronounce it. Yeah, it's Quis Deo. It's delightful.
I don't think I've ever mispronounced it that
bad. Their music tastes good too.
That's right.
This will be a four-part discussion. The first part, who are you? The second part will be, why do you do it? The third part is your inspiration. And then the fourth part is the process. How do you do what you do? Which is something I'm very interested in. And as I've spoken with Mike before and other musicians, the way that you can write music and even the lyrics, it's just, it's kind of baffling to me, like how the hell can you do this? Like when you playing whatever instrument it is, like how is it creating those sounds? How are you creating those sounds? So that's always a good interest in me with the conversation. But we'll start off with Josh. Who are you?
So my name is Josh Larson. I'm a musician, kind of on my own time. Obviously, it doesn't pay the bills. It's just something I do for fun and something that I do to satisfy myself, I think, more than just about anyone else. Beyond that, I am the quality director for an aerospace manufacturing company up in Northeast Philadelphia called Familia. So most of my days are spent poring over extremely technical documents and coming up with policy and procedure for a large company. And that occupies a great deal of my time. And then usually when I get home, it's a combination of physical activity because I sit a lot, and then music. So music is my creative outlet at this point. It's pretty much my only creative outlet.
How long have you been playing music?
I guess I picked up guitar when I was about 18. I got a little bit of a later start in things, partly because of my background. So I think both of you gentlemen are aware my parents are extremely religious. I come from a very religious family. And thanks to some pretty unusual teaching, I didn't end up hearing heavy metal until I was about 16. I was actually at a buddy's sleepover, and Unforgiven 2 comes on. I think it was The Box. You guys remember that? It was like a music video channel that was on back in the day. And I'm listening to this and I'm going like, yeah, these distorted guitars, those vocals. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. I like this. I like this a lot. And that completely changed my world. After that, it's like, going out and picking up copies of albums and listening to this music. And fortunately, my dad is a little bit more, he was prepared to be a little bit more logical and rational than my mom was. And so he was on my side with this, and he's listening to this and going, yeah, these guys can really play. He's a guitarist. The fact that I play a Paul Reed Smith, that's actually from him. That was an instrument that he'd always played, and he loved his PRS guitars. And so the first serious guitar I picked up was a PRS as a result of that. But anyway, he let me kind of go and do this and explore. And so I picked up the guitar and started taking lessons and just really enjoyed it, really loved it. Started spending a lot of time with it, and kind of leads me to where I am at the present time.
Sitting on a Zoom call.
Sitting on a Zoom call, yeah, with two people of very questionable character. So I suggest that you guys consider your life choices.
It's funny because my father would actually agree with that. My father is extremely religious. I don't want to say religious extremist.
He hasn't bombed anything yet?
No, not that I know.
That's good.
But he's also up in the mountains of Puerto Rico and kind of secluded by coffee and bananas. But now I know from talking with you over the years, which this something that I mentioned to Josh earlier before you joined us, Mike. I've been starting to realize that I'm getting old. It's I've known Josh for over a decade now, and which actually I haven't seen him in almost a decade. But when you and I were doing the music promotion around the Philadelphia area, I was still in my 20s at the time, and now I'm going to be 41 in a couple months. So time is actually it's passing on by. But
I'll make you feel a little better. In a week and a half, the 25th of January, I'll be 54.
but we knew you were old. Now it's me. You know, we're talking about me. I'm not the one that's supposed to be old.
Yeah, you actually had hair when we were doing the that music stuff.
I did. Screw you. Anyway, back to the topic
all right.
here.
Most of mine is shaved.
Speaking with you, Josh, before, and I knew that you had the religious background and that your father was religious. I didn't realize your mother was. Is she super religious? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, she was much more dogmatic, I think is probably the appropriate term, than even my father was. So my dad's a pastor, in addition to doing the construction work, which he's always done to take care of my family. I'm also the oldest of 10, in case anyone's forgotten that. So
Wow.
There were plenty of us around, and obviously pastoring is, unless you're in one of those mega churches, it's just not really the best paying profession. He was never in a mega church. My dad's always been very much like a small church, bad area outreach type of guy. That's his goal. And in addition to teaching things which I guess everybody would consider to be, you know, your basic religious teachings, he also teaches things like good spending habits. And that's desperately needed, how to budget when you're in one of those areas, and where on a daily basis, maybe you're buying fast food, you're going out, you're buying lunch at a Wawa or something like that. It's making people aware of the fact, like, hey, you're actually spending thousands of dollars over the course of a year. And if you change these spending habits, you will vastly improve your life. I mean, how many people could use an extra $500, an extra $1,000 at the end of the year? And so he's very active in terms of trying to make a real and calculated difference, just even beyond what I would say comes from the religious teaching and background. And that's something that I resonate with.
He actually doesn't sound like that bad of a person.
I know, coming from the religious background,
I'm sure
it's hard to believe.
That sounds kind of weird the way I phrase that. Thinking about my father, you know, you would be a sinner. You would be going to hell for playing the guitar.
Sure.
Those are his religious views.
Right.
I'm definitely going to hell because
still have long hair too. So I don't know where that places me on the spectrum of hell, but probably 7th, 8th, 9th level, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Jesus had long hair.
Well, allegedly, according to sinners like you.
In all those pictures that were painted 500 years after he lived.
That's right. Also with the blue eyes. Common feature of Palestinian/Israeli males from that time period.
It's amazing how good their memory was. That's
I know.
a span.
Well, you know, when you learn about these people like Methuselah, who lived for 800, 900 years, man.
So you were starting to say, anyway, some vague accusations of sin from your father, I believe.
Yes. I'm. If you have to be good at something, it would be sinning for me, because I am pretty much everything I do is a sin in his eyes. And
well, yeah. Doesn't your dad believe that it's a sin that you eat meat?
Oh, yes, definitely. Even though he realizes that meat is actually good for you, and that he feels much better when he does eat meat. Compared to his extreme vegan diet, which it's not so much the religious aspect of it. It's just he's poor. He doesn't have money to actually eat properly, and he uses it as an excuse. You know, this is not because I'm poor. It's because God wants me to do it this way, and you don't do it this way, so you're wrong, and you're going to hell. You know. So anyway.
Well, I mean, Mike and I have often agreed um, on our weekly calls with each other when we're talking about what a disappointment you are, Adrian. We have agreed with your father on many points, but that one I do have to kind of disagree just a little bit.
On which part? Me being a good sinner, or?
Oh, well, you're an excellent sinner. Yeah, high marks.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about eating meat being a sin.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, Adrian, you're the sinner that sinners can learn from. Learn how to be better.
I'm taking
Better
that as a
sinners.
compliment.
That's all right. I'm in the same boat. I mean, yeah. Spiritual mumbo jumbo.
What, you want to get in the conversation too?
But we all have our own beliefs, and the bottom line is, as long as the belief system works for you and helps to make your life better, then hey, that's great.
I
And
believe
I'll add,
that.
as long as you're not harming somebody else as a result of it. Because I think
Yes,
that's something
yes.
that's really come to the forefront of my mind at this point in time. I used to be,
Absolutely.
whatever your religious views are, that's fine with me. And at this point, I think to myself, well, okay, there's a line.
Well, yeah. And yeah, that exact line is, hey, whatever you believe is fine. Just don't, you have no reason to be trying to force other people to believe what you do.
Sure.
Talk to them, be a friend or whatever. Maybe they'll be interested and ask you, but going out and screaming hellfire and brimstone on the street corner, yelling at people, I don't think doesn't help anybody. And worse yet, killing people is way beyond.
Sure. Now, what if I'm
Actually,
screaming about hellfire and damnation in my music? I mean, I think it's kind of contextually appropriate.
It works in music, though. That's good for music. And you can play that music on the sidewalk, and people probably wouldn't even get mad at you.
and if you have a camera, now you're on YouTube and you're going to be famous. So I don't really see a downfall.
Like the naked cowboy in Times Square.
Yeah, that's right.
Trying to
almost forgotten about him.
Yeah, whatever
I was kind
happened
of hoping
to
that I would. I think I've actually seen him before.
But don't worry, Mike is going to inbox you some great pictures right after this.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to need a new co-host. JR was trying to get in the conversation here. That's what all the moving around was. He decided he wanted to play fetch with one of his children.
No. He was like, JR's like, wait a minute. They're talking about writing music. And I'm going to tell you, you're doing it all wrong.
Well, I think he heard us talking about food, and that's what really got him, got his attention. Now he's a little tired out from moving, so he's gonna look. I don't know. He's still chewing on his toy. Anyway,
at some point, when you're talking about JR, you have to show people JR.
Well, I was going to say earlier, and then I lost my train of thought as we were talking about all the sinning. I need to get
You got excited. I understand.
I need to get a lower table. This way I can have a nice chair, and JR can actually come up on the chair with me. Sitting at a high table with a bar stool. It's not
with a high chair?
That's not what I said. So yeah,
and it's got the little attached table in front of you, right?
No, that's on the side. That's where my drink was, but it's easier to put it on the table next to the laptop.
Are you drinking milk?
No, it's Irish cream.
He's drinking straight Irish cream. There you go.
There's ice in it.
There's ice in it.
We've covered part one. We're going to move on to part two now. Voices, 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 voices.